Hey everybody, my name is 40s and welcome to my first build guide. I've been theory crafting different Shaman builds since well before launch, and I've finally created something unique enough to bring to you guys. This build is a blast to play and features one of the goofiest uniques in last Epoch. It's a low life, strength and attunement stacking build that I have dubbed Squirrel Bolt. We will go through the talents, skill trees, where I'll include some things that didn't work well, items, and some optional setups as well as gameplay. Okay, so as I said before, this build is going to scale both strength and attunement, and the reason for that is because Stormbolt's scale with attunement as a 1-to-1 with spell power, so 1 attunement equals 1 spell power for Stormbolt. And the reason why we're going for strength is because this is a low life build, and we're going to take advantage of the Cleaver Solution Axe in the offhand. So, in the Shaman passive, or Primalist passive rather, we're going to go 8 out of 8 in Natural Attunement, as well as 8 out of 8 in Primal Strength. We're going to pick up Dual Wielding, 3 out of 5 in Hunter's Restoration, and then we're going to go ahead and take 5 out of 5 in Berserker. And this is for the less damage taken on low life, 20%. That's going to be pretty big, because we are always going to be low life. Jumping right into the Beastmaster section, we're going to take some pretty much mandatory Shaman slash Primalist talents at this point, which is unfortunate. But we're going to go 8 out of 8 in Earth Sign Strength. This is going to give us the strength as well as additional reduced damage taken from nearby enemies. And then, of course, 4 out of 5 in Boarheart, 3 out of 5 in Call the Pack, 5 out of 5 in Porcine Constitution, and then we're only going to go 2 out of 5 in Boarheart. And the reason for this is because we're going to be attacking so fast that we should have no issues keeping this up. And as you get later down the road, you can probably put more points in this. The character that I'm doing this on is level 99, and I'm still doing some testing, but for now, this is what we went with. Then we're going to go over to the Druid passive, where we're going to take 5 out of 7 in Spirit Warden, 5 out of 7 in Druidic Prowess, and then finally, over to the Shaman side, where we are going to stack, once again, more Attunement and Strength. So we're going to go 8 out of 8 in Shamanic Infusion, 1 out of 8 in Silent Protector, 5 out of 5 in Totemic Fury, and this attack speed, once again, is going to be really nice once you see what we're doing. 8 out of 8 in the Earthen Supremacy, more Attunement, 8 out of 8 in Glacial Strike, more Strength, and we will actually get the benefit of that next attack cold damage, since we're going to be using Tempest Strike. We're going to go 1 out of 5 in Dervish, 1 out of 10 in Rhythm of Thunder, 8 out of 8 in Elemental Shrines, more Attunement once again, 1 out of 5 in Lagon's Answer, 4 out of 5 in Thunder Strikes, and we are going to max this out, Conflux, 6 out of 8. So when I had imported this build guide, I'd actually was testing a couple of things. So before I forget to mention, we're going to take a couple of points out of here because I'm no longer using the Ascendant Circle. I actually maxed Conflicts out to 8 out of 8, and then I put 2 points in Tempest form so I could proc Shock, because I was not getting Shock on the target to activate this less damage taken, which is pretty important. Okay, moving on to the skills. So this is a physical damage build through and through. So we're going to start out with Maelstrom, where I went with 2 out of 4 in Whirlpool, which I probably could put more points into for stack duration. It wasn't super noticeable for me past 2, but I have done it. It is some quality of life. You can take some points out of the Turmoil for the area and add it here if you want to, but I generally think that about 8 stacks or more is going to be great for this. And then we're going to go 2 out of 3 in Sleep-Footed, 1 in Power of the Storm, 3 out of 3 in Energized, and then right here, Cyclone, we're going to convert this to physical, and this is a great node because this is going to give us 5% global physical damage per Maelstrom stack. So if we're at 8 stacks, we've got 40% increased global physical damage, which is just another buff. I took 1 out of 4 here just to give us more stun chance. This is 15% per stack, so, 8 stacks, 15% per stack. It can be useful. So then I went 2 out of 4 in Calm, and that was mainly just to get to the Windswept, which is going to give us our Haste permanently, as well as Wind Fury, which is going to give us our Frenzy permanently. And then I also took 1 point in Arctic Chill, just so Maelstrom has a chance to chill. Moving on to Gathering Storm. So we are not actually going to be directly casting Gathering Storm, but we are going to be using Storm stacks. So you'll notice in the gameplay, when we start out, we're going to kind of move into the map. We're going to attack a couple of times with Gathering Storm, get like 2 or 3 stacks up, and then we will like almost never have to use it again. In fact, I was testing this build at 300 corruption, and I actually ran into a problem where I was running out of Gathering Storm stacks because mobs were dying too fast. This build was a lot stronger than I had anticipated, and I was testing this in 250 to 300 corruption timelines. So, yeah, that was an issue. But you know, the higher up you get, the more streamlined this build will feel to play. So, we're gonna go ahead and take 2 out of 4 in Jolting Strikes. We're gonna convert this to physical right here with Earth Smasher. We're going to go ahead and go 2 out of 2 in Tempest weapons. This is going to be beneficial because we will be using an axe in the offhand. We're going to take 1 point here in Wind Fury Blows, and that's just to bridge us to this node right here where I went 3 out of 4 in Thunderous Strikes, and then 4 out of 5 in Friends of the Tempest. This is the most important node in this tree. Okay? And then after that, 1 out of 4 in Looming Clouds, 1 out of 1 in Lightning Strikes twice. This will be beneficial for bosses. 4 out of 4 in Concentrated Storm. I actually took 3 out of 3 in the Storm Gathers, and that's because when you're on pure single target, you will notice that the stacks can get a little bit wonky if like some of your squirrels die. So this seemed to help a little bit. I had less downtime where I didn't have stacks. There sometimes will arise when you are not able to get on boss target, or if your squirrels die. So it'll happen. And then we went 2 out of 2 in Either Storm, and 1 out of 1 in Rending Vortex. So once again, this just adds even more synergy with Maelstrom. So now at this point with Maelstrom, we are getting 40% increased, and this is with 8 stacks. Okay, and sometimes you will have more than 8 stacks because of this node right here, because of in the Eye of the Storm. But 8 stacks minimum, you are going to get 40% global physical damage, as well as 8% crit for Storm Bolts. So that's pretty huge. I mean, you're getting 2 benefits right there just from Stormbolt, or from Maelstrom rather, and it's going to add up. All right, guys, moving on to Tempest Strike, and this is how we're going to be proccing all of those Storm stacks that we're getting with Friends of the Tempest. So we're going to disable all of the Tempest here. We're going to go 2 out of 2 in Wind Fury. We're going to take 1 out of 3 Firm Grip, and then you're going to put 1 point in this entire wheel. This is going to disable the Frozen Tempest, the Thunder Tempest, as well as the Wind Tempest. We're going to go 1 out of 4 in Attune Slam, and then 1 out of 4 in Sky Opener. And this is going to be bread and butter right here. This is going to increase the Stormbolt damage by 60%. And I believe that this is a multiplicative stat, so this is a really, really strong talent right here. We're going to go over here. We're going to take 3 out of 4 in Ancestral Swiftness. You will only need 3 out of 4 here. You won't need the 4th point. It won't do anything for you. The mana cost will already be 0. 4 out of 4 in Gladiator of Lagon. This is another huge node. This is going to give us 4 spell damage every time we attack with Tempest Strike, and this node is great. And you can read the tooltip. It says that you can trigger at a maximum time of 3 times per second, and it lasts for 8 seconds. So if you triggered it its maximum amount of times, you're looking at 24 stacks maximum. It'd be really hard to sit at 24, so you know you're going to be sitting around, I don't know, 15 to 20 stacks. And at 4 spell damage per stack, you know, you're looking at 60 to 80 spell power, global spell power, which is great. That's going to buff your Storm Bolts by quite a bit. I had originally spec'd into Gladiator of Lagon, but then I had realized that the Tempests don't actually use, or aren't being used anymore. But I kept it for a test that I was using with Storm Totem, where instead of Maelstrom, I used 5 Storm Totems. And this is an optional setup that you can use instead of running Maelstrom. I found that Maelstrom was better for the map clear, but the Thorn Totems was better for the bossing, because I would never ever run out of stacks with Thorn Totems and Squirrels hitting. So that's an option to do this. Even if you don't spec into Thorn Totems, you're still going to take the idols, because the 2 Thorn Totems with the idols that you can summon, plus the Squirrels, is mandatory bare minimum to keep your stacks, your storm stacks, from falling off the majority of the time. There will be sometimes they fall off, but that will be very helpful. And then we're going to take Storm Riding Companions. This is going to give us additional physical pen per minion. So this is for Tempest Strike. It's not for the Storm Bolts themselves, but it's helpful. Alternatively, if you don't want to go here, if you don't want to take Scheme of the Architect, you don't want to take Ligonian Shamanism, and you don't want to take Storm Riding Companions, which could be easily justifiable, you could load this node up right here, which is going to give you, it's going to, at maximum, will give you 20 damage per a mace or axe. We're using one axe in this build, so that's 20 melee damage. You are striking with Tempest Strike really fast, so that will be helpful. Or you can go into damage and area. Once again, these are only going to affect the Tempest Strike. And there could be other things you could take, but those are just some options. Moving on into Warcry. Warcry is going to be proccing our Maelstrom for us. Warcry is very good at that, and it does it at a cheaper price. So it's pretty nice. We're going to go ahead and start out with Juggernaut. This is going to make us invulnerable after Warcry. Pick up the one node in Breath of the Terror. This doesn't really do anything for us since we're running low life ward build. Max this out so we can get 4 Maelstrom Shacks per Warcry. Take the Purging Shout. And then we're going to go into Berserker here. I love this node. I use this for almost all of my builds. I love it, even if it's a completely spell-focused build. The reason why I like it is because Shaman's kind of a battle mage, and Fury Strikes right here. This is what we like. 12% attack speed per Berserk stack, up to 48%. That's a huge amount of attack speed. And as you'll see in the gameplay, we're going to be swinging really fast. 3 points in the Brutality node before it. You can put extra points here if you want to as well. It's up to you. I mean, you can get rid of the pull instead of the knockback, and that would free up 1 point here. That would give you 2 points to max this out if you wanted to. 3 points is fine because we are taking the Shallow Breath, which reduces the cooldown by 50%. So I'm Warcrying every 4 seconds basically with my cooldown reduction. So as I said earlier, I took 2 out of 4 in Staggering Roar. Put 1 in Apprehend, 1 in Kinetic Scream, 1 in Eviscerating Howl, and then 1 in Shallow Breath. Moving on to our last skill, which is Summon Wolves, aka Squirrels. Okay. We are going to go ahead and go down here, 4 out of 5 in increased health, 2 out of 4 in health regen. We're going to max out Stormborn. This is going to give us a chance to for the Squirrels to Stormbolt on hit. And actually, I don't know if this actually works. I could probably go to the dummy and test it. I know that the lightning conversion, like when you have Squirrels and you have these nodes, the Squirrels' melee attacks don't do any lightning damage, which sucks, but that's the way it is. Then we're going to take Pack Hunters. This is so we can have an additional wolf and an additional companion. This is going to give us this is going to give us 2 more Squirrels. I took 2 points here to give the Squirrels a little bit of health leech because with all the health nodes they get, which right here as well, they're going to get health per point of attunement, 4%, which gives them quite a bit of health. They're going to be able to keep themselves pretty healthy the majority of the time. So moving down here, Stormcaller's Reprisal, 1 there. 1 in Cloud Runners here, and 1 in Shaman's Bond. Like I said, this is just to give us that additional health on the Squirrels because, minions aren't very smart. And then 4 out of 5 and on the Hunt, 1 out of 4 in Howl of Might, and 1 out of 1 in Safety Numbers. So we can summon Squirrels up to the companion limit. This is all going to give us 6 Squirrels. So, combined with our 2 Thorn Totems, we have 6 Squirrels and 2 Thorn Totems to be constantly proccing Friends of the Tempest. Granted that there isn't like a huge gap in mob density in your maps, you will be generating storm stacks very fast and very often. Even on some bosses, Pierce Single Target, you'll have times where you don't have to ever recast a Gathering Storm manually. So I do put Gathering Storm on my bar because it does happen every now and then where you have bad luck streaks where the minions aren't proccing them. Or if you're on like Jorah and you can't get into a good spot, then your Squirrels could die after a few rotations of the Void Beam that's kind of circling around. But you know, that's kind of where we take this node right here. I have this currently maxed out as well, 3 out of 3 in Storm Gathers. This just gives us 80% chance to gain a stack instead of spend one, so that will help as well. And prior to when I had this at 2 out of 3 for a while, and I had this at 4 out of 4, but I switched 1 point. I dropped 10% 10% physical pen. This is physical pen when you take the node here. But yeah, that's kind of how the build went. A couple things that I had tried that didn't work out so well. I did take Excited Bolts. My mana drained immediately because of how fast we were attacking, and you know, I actually couldn't use Tempest Strike. It was pretty awful. But I did try that out. I did try taking additional points in here, but then I realized that this does not affect the Stormbolt talent here, so it's just for Tempest Strike, so that seemed kind of pointless as well. There's definitely a little bit of flexibility in this skill talent tree here, the whole thing. There's room for some more improvement, I'm sure, and some more theory crafting on this, but for now, that's the talents. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and talk about the gear. The first piece that we're going to take is Herald of the Scurry and the Helm slot. This build is probably not for your, I just created a Shaman person. It requires a couple of items that can be kind of a pain to farm. This is one of them. Luckily, you know, if you're Merchant's Guild, then, you know, you can get this on the AH after not too long. And if you're Circle of Fortune, then a couple of prophecies, and I'm sure you'll find one in not too long. And an even bigger pain is going to be Twisted Heart of Ukeros. This thing sucks to get sometimes. Sometimes I've gotten it in my first try. You know, so you get these 2 items, you're golden. You can actually run this build without this item. This is just a good item because it's got the additional strength and then the increased health implicit. Herald of the Scurry, great item, gives us about 40% increased health. Super useful. And this gives us... other beneficial things on here, of course, are going to be the plus levels to summon Wolf. You're going to need those. And then the chance for the Squirrels to shred physical resistance. That's super helpful. An Exanguinus, as you can see, mine has a +4 level Gathering Storms. I had actually had a chest that had Gathering Storm levels and Maelstrom levels on that I'd tried to put on here, but I got increased health regen, which kind of sucks. The +4 levels of Gathering Storm, you can do without. You can go for a +2. You can also alternatively try and put Strength and Attunement or one or the other and Gathering Storm on there. All that stuff helps. None of this is like mandatory other than that you have an Exanguinus. And then we've got our Cleaver Solution in the offhand. This is another easy item to get LP on right now, especially with Circle of Fortune. This is a 2 LP, which isn't super rare. I got a crit multi and attack speed roll in there, which is super helpful. And then in the main hand, a Mad Alchemist Ladle. This is just going to give us a huge more damage modifier. And then on our neck, this is not a mandatory item either. This is an easy item to get 3 LP on, especially if you're Circle of Fortune. This is going to disable our Health Leech, and it's going to convert 100% of Potion to Ward. So taking this neck allows you to do a couple of different things with the build that I'm kind of in the process of testing just to find what's best. But if you don't take the neck, then you need to get a Boulder Fist. A Boulder Fist will disable your Health Leech. You don't want Health Leech. And if you don't take the neck, then you're going to want to use this belt. Chains of Uluros. This is going to also convert your potion to ward, which is super helpful. So if you take the neck, though, like I did, you don't need to use this belt. You can use the belt that gives you +1 to physical spells, I think it is. I'm seeing it right here. This will give you +1 to level of physical skills. Chance to bleed on a hit, that's useless. Movement speed is nice. Throwing attack speed is useless, and damage reflect is useless. You'd only be taking this for the +1 level to physical skills. I opted not to take this belt. Even though I had the neck, I still took this belt because it's got a necrotic risk. And I actually have 3 of these belts that have 2 LP on them. I've been trying to roll them. They're easy to get with 2 LP. And I'm trying to put a double resistance on here with the LP so I can have necrotic, poison, and void resistance on this belt. Because those can be hard to get with the amount of uniques that this build uses. So moving into the ring slots, we've got our Copper Ring here. The base isn't too mandatory. Copper Ring's probably the best base just for the critical strike chance. You're going to want Attunement and Strength, and the implicits. This is going to help with your damage for the Attunement with Storm Bolts, and the strength is going to just give you more ward retention through the cleaver solution. The suffixes should probably have a resistance and health. This is a double resistance one. None of this gear is optimized. It needs a lot of work, but here's where we're at. And the other ring, I've got a core ring right now. The base doesn't matter here. You could probably use a bunch of different bases. Cold resistance and then a really low health roll. I didn't get very lucky with the crafting potential on this. It sort of bricked itself, which sucks, but that happens. Boots, last steps of the living. These are pretty easy to get as a 1 LP. You're really going to want to get a 2 LP and throw like strength or attunement on there with move speed, or strength and attunement, or move speed and life. I mean, there's really anything works on here. Nothing is mandatory. It's pretty open to interpretation for what you think would be best for your character. And then the Eternal Gauntlets. These are just a regular blue experimental item, and the most important line on here is going to be that experimental 10 to 12% of current health lost per second, and then 10 to 12% of missing health gained as ward per second. So that can actually go higher. That's a tier 5 roll. You can get this as tier 6 or tier 7, of course, and it would be definitely better. The stats on these aren't great. You know, low cold res, throwing attack speed, those are totally useless for me. But it was on a good base. The base does give me armor mitigation applies to the damage over time, and I am running at about 1,500 plus armor on this build, sometimes more. I think this one has 1,700. I've been testing this a lot. My current iteration of it's around 1,500. And that will be in the description of this video, the tools for that build, the most current one at least. So we've got our Exsanguinous, we've got the last steps of living, the gloves, and the relic that are providing us our low life utility enabled through the cleaver solution. And that's the gear. Alright everybody, so that's going to conclude the build guide. Thank you for watching. I will put the link to the Epoch tools in the description, as well as timestamps and my Twitch information. So a follow would be great if you enjoyed the build guide. I am just starting out and would love to see you around my stream. So enjoy the gameplay. Thanks a lot.